Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Healing with Horses, the #1 podcast for equine guided therapy. I'm one of the hosts, Jackie Jones, and I'm a psychotherapist trained in transactional analysis.
And I'm Julie Lewis, the equine facilitator, and together we are going to guide you through the world of equine guided therapy. Don't forget to click subscribe to be notified of our latest podcast episodes. And if you get any value from this podcast, please support us by leaving a review. It really will help us out and motivate us to keep making these podcasts.
You can connect with us on social media at Equine Guided Therapy and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get regular videos all around equine guided therapy and mental health. We hope you enjoy this episode. Right. Welcome back to episode 3. We're flying through these, Julie. And in this episode, what we're going to be talking about is the benefits of therapy outside the therapy room.
Yeah, because I think at the end of our last session, we were talking about, or I was certainly talking about, therapy in this country is not a thing yet, really. But yet in the States, we do seem to follow the States, don't we, in lots of things that go on. And in the States, it's massive, any kind of therapy. And it's not seen as, oh, yes, she needed therapy.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not seen as a negative thing. It's like
oh,
the
it's
done
like
thing.
It's going to have your nails done, go and have your hair done. Oh, yeah, I've got a therapy appointment next week, you know.
It's like going to the gym, looking after your physical health and looking after your mental health. It's just the done thing. Yeah.
And I'm sure it will become like that in this country. It's not at the moment. And so there's a perception that therapy is heavy. That's the only word I can think about. And a bit intense and all the rest of it. And I've not had therapy. I've never been in therapy. I'm sure there are those who think I should have been and should have had, but that's neither.
I'm saying nothing, Julie.
But having said that, this is where part of what we're doing now, having, like I said, when I came back, I was blown away by it all, and decided, I'll listen to Jackie after 4 years of her nagging me, and we'll try and do something like this and start offering this because we can.
Yeah.
So obviously you do all your stuff in a room, don't you?
I do. Yeah. And if I think, for certain people, it's fine in a room. They like to be in a room. It feels safe. Do you know what I mean? My therapy room, I always talk about it being non-judgmental. It's a safe space where people can talk about anything. But for some people, it can be quite intimidating. Yeah. I try to not sit directly opposite clients. We usually sit like skew with a bit so that we're not directly opposite each other, because it can be a bit intense for some people, depending on what they're coming with. I see a lot of young people, teenagers and kids, so for them to be outside, it's a lot better. They've got the freedom to move around. Some people sitting still can be like torture. They need to fidget, they need to move around.
Yeah, I suppose so. And I suppose it almost becomes a bit feeling like a medical
clinical.
Exactly. That's I was about to say, like you sit in front of a doctor and you it's every ABC, black and white, and that's not humans anyway, is it? Let's face it, we're not black and white. There's lots of grey areas and beige areas and all the rest of it.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube, our YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast, we have got a YouTube channel where you can watch the video and you can actually see me and Julie. Equine Guided Therapy.
Don't go there.
I've got a flip chart. I draw pictures and that sort of stuff when I'm in my room as well. And even on the equine guided therapy, I need my flip chart board. I need to draw diagrams and pictures and things, because for me, it helps people understand things a little bit better rather than just talking sometimes.
Well, that did become apparent, didn't it, with some of the groups we did and some of the ladies that were there. Some of them, when we were talking back afterwards, they were saying, oh, as soon as you did that picture with the lollipops, I got it. I got what you meant.
Yeah.
And that to go back and chat about that afterwards.
And using metaphors is another good way of getting things across. Do you know what I mean? Or it's kind of like experiential therapy where we're experiencing something. And even with the horses, you were talking people through it, when he's doing that, when he's nickering or when he's blowing out, this is what he's trying to communicate to you. So they're actually experiencing it in real time rather than sitting in a clinical environment trying to imagine something.
Yeah. And I think the physicality of that as well, being outside, like we'd said, part of what we do with the equine guided therapy session is be outdoorsy, grounding.
Yeah.
So,
By the stream, when we were by the stream, just
yeah.
listening to the running water, I literally could feel my own tension just disappearing.
We did have a glorious day. I mean, that was we couldn't have written that, could we? We couldn't. We
No, it
couldn't put
was
that
a
together.
nice day.
The
Yeah.
old, if you think of a little babbling brook, that was it. It was a babbling brook, and we hadn't intended stopping there, but there was no need to go any further. That was just
Yeah.
to us almost, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just noticed actually, if anybody is watching on YouTube, my name isn't Andy L, which is what it's showing on there. I do hope you can do something with that, Jack.
I think the border that we put up wipes it out. Yeah.
All right, that's all right.
She's not, yeah.
Must be Andy L.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So some of the other things that we can do, as well as it being, you know, like experiential or whatever, it gives people a different perspective being outdoors. That, you know, I don't want to say that there are rules in my therapy room. I suppose there are certain things that we were limited by when we're in a room, you know, and it's like a free for all when we're outside of a therapy room. But I felt a lot freer when we were on the yard. Do you know what I mean? People could walk around in the stable, or they could get up and move around. Do you know what I mean? They weren't.
It's much more sensory as well, isn't it? Let's face it, there were the smells, apart from anything else.
Absolutely. The noises, everything. Yeah.
If you're in a room environment sitting with somebody, and I'll use that word again, the clinical, but it's, you know, it's set up, isn't it? You've made it so it's a comfy room.
Yeah.
Where you can sit with your clients and they can discuss freely whatever they need to discuss with you.
Yeah.
It's not sterile and not clinical in any way. It's a comfy room, but there's no birds tweeting in there.
No.
The smells don't suddenly change. Well, I hope they don't, unless you've got a crock pot on or something like that going, Jack.
Well, this is it. I think when you're in a therapy room, you become really conscious of outside noises, and it takes you away from the moment. Whereas when you're outside, it kind of brings you into the moment somehow. It's different. Yeah.
You're immersed into that world, which is very sensory. There's noises, there's smells, there's touch, all the different things we were walking on. You know, it's cobbly bits, there's gravelly bits.
Well, even touching the horse when, you know, in order to get the horses breathing, often the only way that you can do it is to watch the nostrils, or to actually put your hands on and feel the rib cages going up and down, which I didn't even realize, because I can remember I said to you, so how do we see how they're breathing?
How do you see? Well, with your eyes.
Well, that's it. Do you put your hand on the chest? Are you like, well, no, because it's in between the front legs and you can't even feel anything anyway? Because for me, when I say to somebody, listen to your heartbeat, you know, feel your heartbeat, we literally just put our hands on our chest and you can feel it. Yeah.
Well, again, this is the thing though, and look, I was talking to somebody else and they were saying, yeah, but I'm so terrified of them. And I said, well, you don't have to go hands-on. Don't go hands-on then. You can do this watching, and we'll show you another way of doing it. And that's what we did with her. But within the first horse, next horse, she wanted to be hands-on.
Yeah.
Because she'd already made the connection the first time, and then the next horse, that was it. She wanted to be in there. She wanted to be hands-on. Now that happened very, very quickly for that client, but other clients, it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So that being outdoors again, it gives them the opportunity to do it really, really at their pace. We're still offering all the same therapy, the same opportunities. They'll still get as much as they can take out of it, but it's that pacing of it all. They can do everything at their pace, but so many other ways of taking from it what you need and enjoying it and being in that moment in the same way.
Which pacing is
hands-on.
A technique in therapy that is really powerful. Pacing is a technique used in therapy, and I can remember when I was kind of newly qualified and I was with a highly anxious person in the room, and I could feel my own heartbeat speeding up, and I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And the energy in the room, I was lifting my energy to theirs. That was it. And it's a skill as a therapist to actually notice, is this my feeling, or is this something that I'm picking up from the client? And often if you're seeing a highly anxious client, you will notice your own energy level, and you've got to consciously take a deep breath and slow your own breathing down, so that hopefully you can kind of bring the client down. So it's a similar sort of thing, you know, that the horses do naturally without
Well, there you
any
go.
effort.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you look, that great big pair of lungs,
yeah,
great big heart, and that great big ball of energy, ball of hair, ball of energy, and the electromagnetic field that they're giving out just by being there. They haven't even got to do anything.
yeah,
Straight away, they're going to draw your energy down, aren't they?
yeah,
And that's, again, that can be done at a distance. They don't have to be standing within a foot of the horse. If people are uncomfortable and don't want to be that close to a horse, we can do these kind of things in the paddock, in the field, and all the grounding things that we do. All of those kind of things are equally beneficial, but it's at their pace. And it's like any kind of learning, I suppose, isn't it? You know, everything is learned, and some of the behaviors, I'm sure, that people do are learned. So to unlearn that, to
yeah,
stop the anxious behavior, or to stop this happening next time,
yeah.
is,
I
you know,
think, you know, being outside with nature, it's just, it's a really calming thing, energy. You know, we just take it for granted a lot of the time. You're not noticing what your breathing's doing. You're not listening to the sounds. You're too busy in your everyday life, just, you know, rushing around and doing all this stuff. So to just take, I know our sessions last 3 hours, but even if you can just get out with nature for 10 or 15 minutes to just ground yourself, you will feel completely different about things. You know, I often say to people in a work situation, in your lunch break, take your lunch outside, just go and sit on a bit of grass outside and eat your lunch outside. And then you feel refreshed and ready to go back in after lunch.
can you remember one of our clients said, well, well, I've come along, to accompany so and so, and lots of our clients will come in pairs, won't they, and
Yeah,
this kind
yeah,
of thing,
yeah,
because that's human nature. And she said, I know though that if I'm feeling stressed, I need to go and take the dog for a walk. And we both said, well, do you? Yes, I do. Okay, and how do you feel after that? Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is what I do. This is what I do. And just looking at this lady, you could see she was a stressy lady. But at the end of the session,
yeah,
swung it around completely. She said, because yeah, I do take the dog for a walk, as a, I need to go for a walk. I'm
yeah,
going to take the dog for a walk.
yeah,
Almost forcing herself to do it to feel better, but she doesn't actually feel better because she's just doing the walk because she's been told you need to go into outdoors, and it's doing the dog walk. It's not actually taking in and switching off.
yeah.
It was doing the dog walk because I know I need to do that dog walk because this will make me feel better. So I've gone through it into the dog walk in the same way, wasn't it? Almost, when she was talking
It's
about it.
focusing on the end result rather than
Yeah,
the actual journey, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? My mentor, Bob Cook, who taught me transactional analysis, one of his sayings, and it used to really, really wind me up. In fact, you know, it used to hiss me off. He would say, therapy is a process, not an event. Because I wanted him to just tell me what I needed to do and I'll just do it. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's not how it works. It's the process.
Well, that lady, look at her at the end. She was like, now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I know what I'm doing. Now I know what you meant.
Yeah. And
It just made her
you know,
feel so good.
exactly. And each and every person that comes to a therapy session or an equine guided therapy session will be going through their own personal process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they will be going through different things. It's not like everybody goes through the same process when they're doing it, because it depends what you've been through. It depends, you know, we're all unique and individual. You know, some of the things that come up for you might be from your past. Some of the things might be concerns that you've got about the future, whatever it is. But it's about accepting the process of it without judgment, without being critical of yourself or anybody else. And I don't think there's any other place that we get the opportunity to do that. That's why I love my job.
I think also with that, like you said about it being given the opportunity, and there was something else, and it just went straight out of my head. But what came into my head when you said it was the experience as well. Each person, as they're dealing with the horses are feeding back differently. So what Mrs.
Absolutely.
A gives to it, Mrs. B, it will react differently. And then
Yeah.
Mrs. C, it reacts differently again. Same horse, and they're all watching because it is group therapy.
I was just going to say this,
Yeah,
because we do it in small groups of 4,
yeah,
people are actually seeing how the horses are
yeah,
different. The reactions are different with everybody. So it's not like, you know, and I don't know whether you could even do this, Julie, but it's not like we've trained them like monkeys to behave in a certain way with everybody that steps in the stable.
Absolutely
Literally,
not.
you know, one person goes in and there's one reaction, and then 2 seconds later somebody else will walk in and that same horse is completely different with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
That's the
that's
surprising thing.
and that is what is so liberating for each client when they're looking, because when we say we do them in 4, we can do them in 6s, but 4 is a lovely group to do, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
everybody gets so much from it. There's a lot of discussion when there's 4.
yeah,
We've got 3 hours, so it's one of those. But it was so interesting for everybody to watch each other and then see with the next horse, because we didn't just use one horse. We gave people the opportunity to try, with different horses and things like that, because different horses will feed back in different ways,
yeah.
and people will go into, just like you look at anything and think, well, I like the look of that.
And, you know, not being a horsey person as much as what you are, Julie, the size of the horse can be quite intimidating for some people. So they're going
Yeah,
to go in feeling a little bit scared. Whereas if they've got, you know, a smaller pony type size, they might feel a bit more confident when they're going in there, which obviously, you know, is going to be a different reaction from the person. So this is the other thing. It's not just horses that are used in therapy now. You know, there's dogs that are used as therapy. You know, people take alpacas and llamas for walks.
yeah.
They even do, is it goat yoga now?
Yoga. I
It-
saw something today for puppy yoga. Can you believe that?
so, you know, we're learning that we can get so much from animals.
Yeah,
You know, this is just one part of therapy. And exactly like you said at the beginning of this, I think therapy is going to evolve over time, you know, with what works. And yeah, just like what type of car you want, you will be able to pick what type of therapy you want and what works for you.
and it'll change as well. That's the thing, isn't it? You look in the States, it's evolved massively, and there's so much available over there. And somebody might be in one kind of therapy and enjoy that, but still dip in and out of another kind of therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's something you can do. Well, I'm not sure. I'm asking you, Jack. You're the therapist. Is that something you can do?
Dip in and out of therapy.
Dip in and out of
Absolutely.
different types of therapy. So you could might be
Yeah.
going, because I know it's on the NHS. They've talked about, going for art therapy.
I
Things like
think the majority of the NHS stuff is CBT, it's cognitive behavior
yeah.
therapy. And it's like 8 to 12 weeks and you're out after 12 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Whereas
Course complete.
well, you're fixed, so they say. But for me, the transactional analysis that I do, I've seen clients for 4 sessions and that's it. They've gone off and they've lived their life happily. I've seen clients for 6 years and they're still coming to me now. So it all depends. You know, some people come to me and they'll have a gap and then life happens. So
Yeah.
something will happen in their life and then they feel like they need to come back for a top up. So again, everybody's individual. There aren't any rules in how long you need to be in therapy for.
I
But for
suppose, is
me,
it like
this,
recognizing it though? When is it? Do you must? I suppose if you're doing therapy, if you're in therapy, for a certain amount of time, you must start to get kind of, what do you call it, triggers almost, that you notice when you're actually, I feel like I'm starting to get anxious again.
yeah, or you become much more self-aware. I think when you first go, you're not really aware of anything. But to me, therapy is all about awareness. It's all about you knowing, like you say, your triggers, or I'm starting to get stressed. For me, I'm that aware now. My behavior changes. I'm a therapist, but I'm not very good with feelings. I tend to do more. I avoid my
I thought you were
feelings
going to say
at
I'm not a
all
very
costs.
good therapist then.
No, I am a
You're a
good
very good
therapist.
therapist, I know.
I'm a thinker and a doer. So when I'm stressed, I think my way out of things and I do lots of stuff to avoid the feeling. So for me, when I'm doing lots of things, I know that there's something going on.
You're getting stressed, yeah.
Yeah. So I can slow it down and think, right, what's actually happening here? Because I'm doing lots of shizzle instead of actually, taking time out. But again, the equine guided therapy, to me, it doesn't need to be heavy stuff and therapy. It can just be 3 hours of self-care. It can just be you connecting with nature and getting in a stable, connecting with what's going on for you. And that's it. You're fine. It'll top you up for, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever.
I think I said it on the last one, didn't I? It's spa day with hooves.
Absolutely. So
Spa session with hooves.
yeah, it's about coming, giving it a go, seeing what it's all about, and then working out whether it's something that you want to repeat on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, or it's just a one-off. You just want to come and have a look and see what it's all about.
Well, I think the whole thing, I think it's very clear. I think we make it very clear that it is very experiential, isn't it?
Yeah, and individual, everybody. Some people will love it and want to come all the time, and other people will think, yeah, well, I've done that. I didn't really get that. I'm not sure what it's about.
Now I'm going to go and jump out of an aeroplane with a parachute.
Or maybe not. Well, I'm sold on it. I was sold on it 4 years ago. That's my thing. Yeah. And we're doing it now. So what we're going to be looking at in the next episode is equine behavior and what we can learn from it. So this is back over to you, Julie, where you're going to be talking a lot about how the horses behave in the herd and what we can actually learn from that, from a human perspective. So until next time.
Yeah, till next time. See you all again.
Speak to you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Healing with Horses. Please follow us on whatever platform you're currently listening on and leave us a review.
And if you got value from this episode, please share it so that others get value from it too. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Equine Guided Therapy.
Or you can visit our website, equineguidedtherapy.com, to book a session with us. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you all soon.